validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'm working on sizing up this camera real quick because I want to make sure I see when you guys jump into the comment section because you guys have the opportunity. There it is. I'll be able to see if you pop in now. You guys have the opportunity, if you so choose, to click those links in the comment section, approve the mic, approve the camera, and jump into the show in real time. So note, I see you guys jumping in from Twitch and Twitter. So if you guys want to come in, y'all can do that with some of these links right here. Also, remember, since we are live 7 nights a week, make sure you guys like and subscribe while you're through here. But since we're 7 nights a week, we have a different topic every night of the week, and you guys can throw your comments into the comment section about everything that we talk about. Tonight, we're going to be doing 7 budgeting hacks that actually work. We're going to be going over not just ways to strategize your personal budget. We're also going to be talking about some tax implications. I know that Joe Mastrano was on the show a while back. He's a CPA, licensed CPA, and he's got some webinars and stuff like that. If you guys are ever interested in getting some tax information throughout the year, also, if you let him know that we told you to stop by, then he'll give you a 10% discount on any services that you use with him. So, just note that everything that we tell you is verified. And that's one of the reasons why we don't start on time. We're supposed to start at the top of the hour, and we're like 45 minutes after the hour. But fact of the matter is that I had to make sure that all of the information was verified because, I like to be the source of accurate information, and I like to be the source of updated, accurate information, because just because it was accurate at one point in time in the past doesn't mean that it's accurate today. So I want to make sure that when we go live, that it is accurate the day that we go live. Now, what happens after we go live, that is subject to change, and I cannot control the future. But what I can do is I can control the information that I provide to you guys on a day-to-day basis. Now, tomorrow we're supposed to be talking about different countries that we can invest in. Hong Kong is one of those countries that was asked from last week. So if you guys have other countries that you want me to refer to, please throw those into the comment section as well. If you're commenting from Twitch or Twitter, your comments will also be seen on the screen. Today, they're at the bottom of the screen. You have the little text window off to the side here that will also show you guys as your comments pop up. But for the most part, even if it's not seen down there, when it does come in, you'll see it over here in the big drop down. So you'll be able to see your comments on the screen if they are appropriate. Now, if they're not appropriate, they're probably not going to be mainstreamed on the screen. And if they're too appropriate, then I'm going to have to take some action about that. Be that as it may, Thursday through Sunday, we talk about ways to improve yourselves personally. And you guys know that Sunday is our members only show that we talk about questions and comments from the fans. So if you guys have questions, if you guys have information that you want to relay, that's the day where I do everything under the sun outside of business, finance, and personal relationships and personal development. So let's go ahead and get today started. Have you ever wondered if those viral budget hacks you see online actually work? Because that's like where we're going to start with these questions today. I want to see have you guys ever noticed? If you have, say yes, say I in the comment section, throw up a hand raise, something to that effect. Now, if you've never tried some of those viral budgeting hacks that you see online, you see them all over social media. If you've never tried any of them, just note, there are some that really do work. Some of those hacks, like the one that you see at the gas station to get free gas, if that did work when the video first went out, that turned into a problem. And now those passcodes and stuff are changed, but some people actually got arrested for that because technically that was stealing gas. In an emergency, might be something to do once or twice, but on a regular basis, when you do something too much, you end up getting caught. And when you get caught, you end up getting in trouble for all of the other people they didn't catch doing it. So you don't want to do anything that you ain't got no business doing, no matter what kind of a life hack it really is. So when I tell you guys about something, I don't just tell you, oh, hey, you can do this and it's going to help you out. I also let you know the pluses and minuses of what you're about to get yourself into. One of the reasons why is because I don't want you to do it because I said so. I want you to do it because you've weighed the pros and cons. It benefits your agenda without causing you negative outcomes towards your agenda, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. This is the way that you'll accomplish that, and you're not making sacrifices or taking unnecessary risks as a result of going down this path. That's why I gave you guys the positives and negatives. Most seminars and most motivational speakers and most individuals that's like, oh yeah, follow my method and you'll be fine. That's never true. Anytime you have a get rich quick scheme, anytime you have a too good to be true scheme, anytime somebody's providing you with all positives and no negatives, it's not legit. There are negatives there. They don't want you to know what the negatives are because they want you to do whatever it is that they're encouraging you to do. I want you to know what the negatives are because my goal is not to get you to spend money on me or invest in me. My goal is to get you to obtain knowledge through me, which gives you a reason to come back to me and to get more knowledge. So being accurate and giving you the pros and cons and helping you make rational and logical decisions that benefit your agenda benefits me because you'll come back and watch me do this again. And since I'm here 365 days a year, there's not a question you can't ask as long as it's appropriately formed that I won't try to find an answer to as long as it's legally supported. Because I'm not going to show you how to commit a crime, and I'm not going to tell you how to hide the body. They got some life hack platforms that will tell you hypothetically how to commit a crime and get away with it. I'm not one of those channels. So we will be putting to the test some of these hypotheticals as to how to budget and how to improve. Now, there's a lot of hacks out there. So I didn't go and fish through 1,000,001 life hacks. Didn't do that. So I'm going to be talking about 7 of the most talked about strategies. And this is strategies that elite investors use. These are strategies that the wealthy use. These are strategies that financial advisors use. These are like legitimate strategies. It's not like delaying your transaction for 45 seconds or a minute and a half at the register for self-checkout so that half of the items that you scan don't get scanned. That's not what I'm talking about, because that is a thing. Self-checkout is a thing where if you delay for too long, it just completely terminates your transaction, and then you start over from wherever you stopped at. And if the other stuff in the cart isn't rescanned, it's not paid for. Some people can pull it off in a way where a lot of their stuff doesn't get scanned and they can walk out of the Walmart, but they're on camera. So a lot of these people can get caught forcing the reset and then recognizing that half the stuff they tried to walk out of the store with didn't get paid for. I'm not giving you strategies like that. I'm giving you legitimate strategies on how you can legally do this in front of somebody's face and not get arrested. So pay attention. We're going to see how much you can supercharge your savings. And I want you to all join me for this particular adventure. Let's be real. Budgeting isn't just about pinching pennies or skipping your morning coffee. Speaking of, let's grab some coffee. I actually got a vendor that's supposed to be sending us some coffee. So you'll be seeing our this and that cup, because that's on its way with the company coffee that they're going to be sending us. But this is great value coffee. I got it from Walmart, so it's not the same. It's not. I love coffee, and anybody who works as much as I do also loves coffee. But this isn't about coffee. It's about building a money plan that actually fits your lifestyle and gets you closer to your goals, whether that's crushing debt, finally starting that emergency fund, or having a little extra for something fun. But if you've ever tried to budget and found yourself right back where you started, you're not alone. Most of us dive in with big plans only to get overwhelmed or lose track of where our cash is actually going. Some of us might find ourselves on a good routine, doing everything right, following the plan that we laid out. A lot of y'all who were with me a few weeks ago doing a dividend rotation plan are on that dividend rotation plan. And while you're on that dividend rotation plan, I actually enhanced that plan because I told you guys about taking the plan and rotating $1,000 around and getting 168% return. But I also told you that if you double down on it by adding more money to it every month and then taking the principal, or not the principal, taking the dividends that you're getting from this platform, which off of $1,000, you might get about $212 a month return off of each successful rotation. But if you're adding that and a few hundred or a couple thousand to your principal every month, you're actually going to be seeing massive gains throughout the year. Those of us that could put away $500 or $1,000 a month can turn 1,000 into 2,000 and 2,000 into 4,000. And by the end of the year, you got 12,000 that just got turned into 24,000. Like, this is the type of stuff that we talk about on the show. Now, somebody that was probably on that path now got a family emergency. They got sudden changes. They got to travel. They got to pay for medical bills. They've got unexpected car crash, something to that effect. And now the money that they were going to re-up into the investment platform, they have to redirect to an emergency. You have to understand there's ways around that. Sometimes you got to take that L and not double down on your investment and maintain stability, but you have assets that are still being invested while you're taking care of your financial responsibilities, which ultimately means that there is still a silver lining to the cloud overhead at the moment, because whatever you're struggling through is not pulling all of your stocks out of your stock option. Whatever you're dealing with right now, whatever controversy you've got going on in your life right now, is only costing your principal income. So just because you couldn't add an extra $500 or $1,000 to your portfolio this month does not mean that the world is over. It just means that it's going to delay your goal of reaching that $1 million status if you are like me trying to hit that $1 million status. Also, though, you guys got to understand, maybe it's emotional spending. Maybe it's living paycheck to paycheck. Emotional spending comes from, impulse buying, really desiring something that you don't necessarily need and just caving and going ahead and buying it because you got a little extra money lying around. Living from paycheck to paycheck could be the fact that you barely got enough money to cover the bills, and then you decide to spend money that belongs to bills on something that is not a bill, and now you got to take the extra money that you had left over and put it on that bill. Maybe it's just too many subscriptions that you forgot about, or actually some that you know about that you just don't want to dispel. Some of y'all really want to start going to the gym, and you continue to pay for the gym membership but never go. A lot of you got parking passes that you don't use. Some of you guys have annual membership plans, family plans to theme parks and stuff to that effect, like you don't go to. Like a lot of us have the Lowry Park Zoo, Busch Gardens, Disney World, Disneyland, where you can go there as many times that you want, but you haven't gone there for 3 years, but it's an annual membership. So you pay for it on a regular basis, but you never exercise it. Back in the day, that type of wasteful spending before the internet. So see, I'm talking about, so if you were born after the internet was created, you don't know what's going on and you're going to recognize that I'm old. But before the internet was created, that type of wasteful spending was called timeshares, where you would be leaving your money somewhere in hopes to go and utilize a certain location for a specific period of time, but your ass don't never go. You got to cut that kind of stuff out of your check. But if it sounds familiar that you've ever experienced recognizing at some point in time, and you might not notice it, you might have logged into something with a free trial and said, screw it, because the free trial was so long that you forgot about it. They do that on purpose because they make you put a credit card on file. Then after you've used the service, you don't need it no more, or you don't like the service, you forget about the service because you don't use it. Then you see a transaction on your bank account like, well, where did this come from? Because they're trying to get their money out of your transaction because they put you on that membership. That's an issue. So you have to double down and double check and make sure that you're not consistently paying for something that you don't use. I pay for Netflix because I use Netflix probably 5 hours a day, every day of the week. Even if it's playing in the background while I sleep, it's being used. I can tell that my money is going to use. See what I'm saying? That's something that is different from just having it there and never touching it. But what's really going to work for you? Today, I'm going to break down one of the rules that we talked about way back when, and this is the 50-30-20 rule. Automating savings, slashing those the sneaky subscriptions that you guys got going on, planning meals, because just like we got the Fit Chef platform that we've been utilizing, we only spent $200 on groceries in the past 5 weeks just because of the one recipe. I grabbed ingredients for 4 recipes, made 2 of them, 3 if you include the shake that I brought to the show, and that was it. But it was like, it fed a whole month for $200. Most people can't say that they have eaten 30 days worth of I'm full and I can't eat anything else for 30 days and only spend $200. And it was good. I'm talking about, we got it on the show right now, bacon chicken wrapped enchiladas. I showed you. We made burritos after we finished making enchiladas. So it was significant. It was significant. And then I still got some right now. Matter of fact, it's not even presentable, but I've got a stew right now with the ingredients that didn't get put into a second batch of enchiladas with some barbecue bacon chicken wrap with some beef stew. So, and still in all, it's a way to save a little bit of money and not have to starve yourself from doing it. Racking up on cash back anything is a smart move, but it's got to be a tactical move, because cash back only makes sense if you was going to buy the item anyway. Buying something that costs more than something else just so that you can get cash back, which is going to reduce the price to the same price as something cheaper, does not save you money. Buying something cash back where you would have bought it regardless, but they're going to give you cash back on this particular brand, you buy that brand because the money that you're going to get back is less money that you would have had to spend. Think about that. When we go to Publix, Publix has these buy one, get one scenarios. You only wanted one, but in order for you to get the discount, you got to buy 10. If you're not going to use all 10, why buy 10? To get the discount, you're spending 10 times more because you only wanted one. If it's buy 9, get 1 free, you didn't really save money by buying 9. You force yourself into buying 9. So if you can consume 9 or consume 10 before the expiration date, then yeah, buy the 10. But remember, cash back does not benefit you. And I'm going to tell you about this right now. For cell phones, rebates. You buy the phone, they give you the rebate after you bought the phone. The phone is only supposed to legally be sold $750. That technically, there's a law there for that. So how they get around that is they prorate the phone and sell it to you for the legal amount that they're supposed to sell it to you for, and call that the taxes on the item, right? $600 down today, and then they give you the rest of the phone for free, right? That's the rebate. That's the cash back, right? You still paid full price for the phone. The difference is, though, is that they've locked you into a contract that is an unwritten contract that you must maintain service with them for the full duration of the $35 a month installment for 2 months to 2 years, to not have to pay the remaining balance of the phone. Where if you don't maintain the service, you breach the contract, and the penalty for breaching the contract is the difference between what you paid them when you first got the phone and what they didn't credit towards the phone. It's not really a cash back. A free line of service. If you get a free phone with the activation of an extra line, you're not getting a free phone. They're indirectly getting money off you because you're going to be paying $35 or $60 a month for this phone for the rest of your life. But the phone would only have been a one-time sale of like $400. Do you understand? Like when you look at cash back, really what cash back are you getting? You must dodge impulse buys. Just because that iPhone 16 looks sexy right now with the price reduction does not mean that you need that phone. If you're looking at me on a cell phone right now that's fully functional, screen's not cracked, it still maintains a charge, it takes phone calls, takes text messages, you can handle emails with it. You're live streaming right now. You don't need to upgrade your phone, but some people do because it's got a pretty camera. Think about it, y'all. Test out the lading budgeting apps, especially the free ones. And then you'll be able to make sure that you're not wasting your money. Even if you're buying a subscription on a budgeting app, make sure that you're saving more money than what you're spending on that app to offset the cost of the app, because your overall budget is still got to be less than what it was when you started, so that you're spending less money, so that you have more money to spend in other scenarios. So I'll share with you what's easy, what's tough, and which hacks make the biggest difference. Spoiler alert. Now, I'm going to give you guys just like a little bit of a head up. Automating your savings might just be a game changer. I am old school. I am not a big fan of automating my savings, but automating your savings is a game changer. I'm going to tell you real quick. When you're automating your savings, you are setting up automatically the removal of capital from your available cash to a savings location where that money should not be touched by you. For those of us out of sight, out of mind kind of people, where if we don't see it as an available balance in our primary spending account, we don't consider it. That allows you to save money. If you remember that it exists when you're not trying to impulse buy, you can take that extra money and invest it somewhere and make more money, make money for you. Remember, I told you guys before that there's well over 8,000 financial institutions in America. 4,000 of them are credit unions and 4,000 plus are banks. And you should have at least one bank and one credit union in every state around the country, which is at least 50 states, 51 if you include Canada, and that makes 100 banks that you should have access to based on the loan options and credit card options, because every financial institution, or most of them at least, all have a credit card option, and they typically give their members a credit card before you can get a credit card from a institution that you're not banking with, because they add more services, which means you could improve your credit score just by adding a credit card from each banking facility that you utilize, because that gives you more revolving credit. Even if they're all $250 credit cards, who cares? You could, with a few hundred banks and a few $100s per bank, that gives you almost $20,000-$30,000 worth of available credit with a few hundred banks at $250 a credit card. Okay, so you can work that out some kind of way. But the point is that if you had an account that's to receive money, and a different account that's going to save money, and a different account that's going to spend money, and separating your personal business. I told you guys to get an LLC, separate your personal business from your separate your business from your personal life, and you have accounts for that. And then you might have accounts for investments. You should have a separate account for online purchases than what you have for in-person purchases, just in case you end up with a online impulse buy from a website that you wasn't sure about, and that item ends up turning into some type of credit card fraud scenario. You should technically, with the way they're starting to put those devices on the pay by pumps and the grocery stores and stuff, the credit card swiping little spot, they're putting code readers on top of those things. You should be able to have a different credit card or debit card or secured fixed card for every type of scenario that you're trying to deal with. A gas card separate from the grocery card, separate from the utilities. You should have one card that would be for auto pay, and other cards that have nothing to do with the auto pay, and make sure that you move your money around to fill all of those slots on a regular basis. Because if anything goes wrong, you can always close down the account of a disputable account, because you have hundreds more accounts at your disposal. But if you've only got one bank account and situation goes south, your money is frozen until you can fix it, which interferes with your ability to be successful. So I want to hear from you guys. What's your go-to budgeting tip? Make sure that you guys drop your best advice in the chat. Make sure that you guys send us comments throughout the show and after the show, and let's help each other reach those money goals. Now, ready to see if these hacks can really boost our savings? Let's dive in and find out together. But wait, let's check things up even more, because here's 7 unorthodox ways to improve personal budget that you probably haven't tried yet. The first one is the no spend challenge. This is similar to one of the ones that I was talking about last week. Pick a week or a month where you spend nothing on non-essentials. It's a rest for your wallet and your habits. We had this no spend day where we had the roulette wheel. This works in relationships where you color code the certain spending categories. You roll the color wheel, or use a color wheel app, and then on certain days you're not allowed to spend certain money on certain things. And I was saying on that day, you've got some people who impulse buy throughout the month, and even though they're told not to make that purchase on Monday, they might delay the purchase until Tuesday or Wednesday and still meet the requirements of the budgeting game and never save a dollar. I say, instead, for those types of individuals that don't mind waiting a few days to make that purchase, but they're going to make that purchase, why don't we just put it off for a whole month? Let's just not buy nothing that we don't need for the whole month. Now, that's a little bit harder to do for those individuals that really want it now. But this will build habits for individuals to not spend on things that they don't need. There's a cash only experiment. If you leave the cards at home and use only cash for a set period, Feeling your money physically leaving your hand makes you think twice before spending. Also, at the same time, since a lot of us don't carry a lot of cash on us, when you go places with cash only, no credit cards, no Apple Pay, no Samsung Pay, no Google Pay, just the dollars in your pocket. And for some of us that are in relationships where the guy has got to pay regardless, if you're the only person with money and you're paying for both people the whole day, you're thinking about, do you have enough for the both of us? And when you start running low, to prevent from shorting your partner on their lavish experience, you will order less or don't order anything at all to make sure that she gets what she needs and gets what she wants. And while you're making that financial sacrifice, if your partner starts noticing that, they'll start ordering cheaper stuff as well. By the time y'all finish y'all adventure, y'all aren't really spending no money because she's recognizing you're running out of money because you're not buying anything for yourself. You're recognizing that you're running out of money because you can't afford to buy for the both of y'all, and y'all are starting to pay attention to exactly how much is being spent. And if you're doing that for a whole month, she's going to be checking her wallet and making sure she brings enough cash to cover the difference if she's a valuable woman. And you're going to be trying to bring enough money to cover the spread if you're going to be trying to present yourself as a valuable man. And y'all are going to start budgeting together as to how much y'all are really going to spend, because it's not as easy to just charge it to the card and walk away when all you have is cash. And when you're counting the change, not sure if you got enough, that's when you really start asking yourself, should we be buying all this stuff? Now, there's another thing that's called roundup savings. That's something that has been widely advertised by a lot of budgeting fintech applications. Special shout out to Fintech 101. The roundup savings is where if you spend a certain quantity of money, you break $1, you take the change and you put it into the savings account. That's what it is. And there's a lot of apps that rounds up every purchase to the nearest dollar and stashes the change. You'll watch your savings grow without even noticing it. Some of these things, like Stash App, will take the difference off of what you buy and throw it into the stock option. Acorn does it. I think TD Ameritrade does it. There's a few platforms that are set up to take the difference. So if it's $13.75, you just spent $14, and you're putting away a little bit at a time. Every time, the more you spend, the more you save, but you're spending a lot of money. Swap, don't shop is a really strange but interesting way to budget your money. Organize a swap party with friends for clothes, books, or household items. It's fun, social, and totally free. How does this work? Well, if you need something and they got it, and they need something that you got it, and y'all share what y'all have, y'all can maximize the utilization of resources without having to spend extra capital on the same resource. It's a lot like sharing the TV. You're just doing more than just your own individual household, because a lot of us live alone. And those of us who don't live alone, we have roommates. And those of us who, if we're not living with family and we're living with roommates, you can do this appropriately with roommates that you're on good terms with. But it is easier to do with your friends, because your friends typically have no problem with sharing with you the things that they don't need that you could potentially benefit from. And if you're going to share with them the things that you don't need that they can benefit from, you guys are mutually working towards each other's success. Replacing the resources is going to happen a lot sooner. But if you use some of what they had last time, when it runs out, you should be able to replace it and get them another whatever it was, whether it was spray, air freshener, cooking oil. Like, remember back in the day, for those of y'all who are middle-aged and older, when we used to go down the street and borrow sugar from a friend. Now, it don't cost nothing to go down the street and knock on a neighbor's door and ask for 2 or 3 cups of sugar. But when they ran out of sugar, you should be able to swing by them and be like, here go a bag of sugar. Because when I didn't have it and you had it, you held me down. And now that you ain't got none, I contributed to your loss. Let me re-up you. Which goes back to what I've said before, is that you're never supposed to take more out of a system that you don't put in, because if you always take out of the system and never put back into the system, you put yourself in a position where that system runs out. You don't just pull water out of the well without making sure that that water can be refilled, because if you pull water out of the well without ever refilling the water will eventually run dry, and then you will not have a well to tap into. It's the same thing with taking money out of a bank account. You got to put money in it to take money out of it. If you don't put any money in it, you can't get any money out of it. You can't borrow from a friend if you never pay your friend back. Now, unsubscribe day. This is a very interesting but very, very beneficial thing that a lot of y'all can set up. If you set aside one day to ruthlessly unsubscribe from marketing emails, and look, when I say marketing emails, it's not just the ones that are telling you, oh, you bought a stack of magazines. Any email that is sending you notifications about products to buy, or anything that you could potentially impulse buy into, unsubscribe from all of that stuff. Matter of fact, anything in your email that is not an important email from a business or government entity, that is not an important email from a friend, relative, or teacher, delete it. All of them. Unsubscribe from all of them. You should not have reoccurring emails coming in every day where you have 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 emails a day just from subscriptions. Fewer temptations in your inbox means fewer impulse buys. Number 6 is going to be financial fasting. You want to choose one category, like dining out or online shopping, and fast from that for 30 days or 60 days. See how much you save. Reverse budgeting is one of my favorites, because instead of budgeting what's left after spending, decide how much you want to save first and force your expenses to fit what's left. This is the wealthy approach. Poor people spend all of their money and take whatever's left and go invest it. Rich people, wealthy people, invest and take whatever's left and spend it on what they need. They will do with less longer to get more, so that later they have more to do more and not have to stress. The rest of us don't know how to do that, which ultimately puts us on a paycheck to paycheck scenario. It ultimately puts us in a financial bind. And then if an extra $1,000 expense comes up out of nowhere, we don't have $100 to go towards it. But you and I both know that a lot of us have $1,500, $2,500, $8,000, $10,000 deductibles so that we can have cheaper insurance policies, because we can't afford the insurance policy otherwise. A lot of us pick the maximum quantity of deductibles so that we don't have to pay the premiums so high, knowing that we're never going to take out a claim, because we're only getting this insurance because we're legally obligated to do so. So I want to hear from you guys. I want to make sure that you guys let me know what's going on with your goals. And speaking of creative ways to boost your finances, let's talk about how you can actually live off of stock investment profits tax-free in the US. Yes, it is possible. I'm going to sit me some scissor on that one, y'all, because I got to tell you, this is some stuff that a lot of us don't pay attention to on a regular basis. Now, there are some ups and downs to this, and this is why I'm going to get into it, because I want you guys to pay attention to it. Roth accounts, the most reliable path. If you invest through a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k, your investments grow tax-free. And once you hit age 59 and a half and have had the account for at least 5 years, all your withdrawals, including dividends, interest, and capital gains, are completely tax-free. This is the most straightforward way to enjoy your investments. So if you're not 59 and a half, you would have to be 54, 53 and a half. And you get you a Roth IRA and just keep putting money into it for the next 5 years, you're good to go. Everything that happens after that is all golden. This will allow you to enjoy all of your capital gains tax-free. You'll be able to do this without having to worry about the IRS in your retirement phase. If you keep your taxable income below key thresholds, there's also a 0% federal tax rate on qualified dividends and long-term capital gains if your taxable income stays below certain limits. People didn't know that. For 2025, that's up to $48,354 for singles, $96,700 for married couples filing joint, and $64,750 for head of household. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I have always filled out my taxes as a head of household scenario, because it is not about your social status, whether you're dating somebody or single. It's whether or not you live alone or you have somebody else financially dependent upon you. If you have somebody else financially dependent upon you, you are the head of household. Now, is the household the number of people that live in your house, or is the household you and the number of people that your income goes towards? Truth is, your household is you and the number of people that your income goes towards. I have always filed head of household because it is not just me. It is me and somebody that I'm related to, somebody that I know, somebody that I've got under my belt as a financial crutch. And that expense actually turns into a tax deduction, but puts me into a different tax bracket as a single person. So riding that wave, the difference between filing your employment status as single versus filing your taxes as head of household, they actually take more money out for single individuals than what they take out for head of household. That's another reason why I would file for head of household. But understanding that dividends paid from stocks for a non-married individual that's filing head of household, $64,750 of money that you can earn from investments without having to be taxed by that. Think about that for a minute. Now, by managing withdrawals and income sources, you can potentially live off your stock profits tax-free if you stay under these thresholds. Okay? The tax advantaged accounts and strategies that you guys will be utilizing, because the traditional IRAs and 401ks let your investments grow tax deferred, but withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income. You have the option to do pre-tax, where they tax you going in so that you don't get taxed coming out, or you can defer it, where you don't pay taxes going in, but then you pay taxes on it coming out. There's some way, shape, or form, you're going to get got somewhere. There are healthcare savings accounts that offer tax-free withdrawals for qualified medical expenses, including investment gains. There's a 529 education plan that provide tax-free earnings and withdrawals if used for education. See, y'all didn't think I was going to go into some stuff like this. That's why I told y'all we was going to be touching base on some things that might help y'all with y'all taxes, because you can save money on your budget if you ain't got to mail your whole income tax check or your whole paycheck back to the IRS. Because while they just saved $163 billion auditing the U.S. government, They are not giving any of that to us. They're putting it towards the $600 billion worth of governmental defenses that Donald Trump wants us to have. So we are still spending more than we're getting back from our country. We need to make sure that we are saving more than what we spend individually across our lives, regardless of what you give to your country. There's an indexed universal life insurance that can let you access cash value tax-free via loans. These are those 770 life insurance policies that people talk about, where if you structure your life insurance policy correctly, your life insurance policy is more towards a living insurance policy, not a death policy, and it allows you to access the value of the policy. And what a lot of wealthy people encourage other wealthy people to do is to max out the policy, then borrow against that policy, and then buy whatever they want in cash. You can let the policy go after that, because like, who's going to pay back all the money that they just gave to these people? But the fact is that if the policy terminates itself, you own everything that you got, because the policy is leveraged against the capital in the policy. So it's a secured loan, but you own all of the assets. Now, the assets that are bought free and clear can be mortgaged if you want to, but if it is willed to the next generation, your kids and your grandkids get houses that are paid off, cars that are paid off, yachts that are paid off, because as the wealthy get older, they start maxing out the loan value of each one of their insurance policies and buying cash up front all of the things that they want in life, and then saying, screw this policy. Now, there's at least one policy somewhere where when they die, their death is covered. But all of the policies that are utilized for this particular type of method are, you're able to get your money without having to worry about being taxed on any profits that was gained from the life insurance policy. Though this is a more complex and costly strategy, it is something that can be done, because as we understand, oh yeah, I'm going to be talking about that. As we understand, the index, the index universal life insurance policies can range anywhere between $8,000 a year and $15,000 a year to maintain. That's a decent quantity. Now, other tax minimization tactics include Joseph, Mr. Hernandez, special shout out to Mr. Hernandez. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother. Good to see you. Yes, it is. Actually, it's a when you borrow against a policy, it's somewhat of a double-edged sword. However, it is still gaining value, because this is what happens. So say you put $100,000 into a life insurance policy. Usually they allow you to borrow a percentage of the money that you put up there. But let's just say, for example, you borrowed the whole 100,000. Let's say that they're charging you 50% interest, whatever. So out of the 100 grand, you got to give them back 150 grand. The policy's principle is still there, gaining percentages, but life insurance policies typically gain between 4 to 7%. You're paying them back on the loan, whatever the percentage is for the cost of the loan, which is going to be more than the value of the money that you borrowed. But you end up with a life insurance policy that has more equity in it than you started with, because you borrowed from the policy and then paid it back. Now, Is it technically a financial loss if you're spending the loan and then you're paying back the loan? Well, that depends on how much you're trying to get back versus how much you're trying to give to the kids. The concern there. Oh man, I'm good. I'm good to see you. He said, "How are you? Wife and I have been working on my our insurance business, brother. I just picked up 12 more life insurance and annuity products to offer clients." Well, while y'all are watching the show, Joseph apparently is a insurance agent, and if he throws his links in the comment section, y'all can click those links and y'all can go and talk to him about getting yourself some health insurance or life insurance style policies. And this networking, this is one of the things that we're about. So if you want to grab a couple clients out of the comment section, feel free to drop your, I'll throw it up on the top of the screen. Feel free to drop your business's contact information, email or something to that effect, and I'll share it with the rest of the squad. Congratulations, though. I'm glad to know that you and your wife are working real hard to make things work. But yes, the truth is that the value of the insurance policy itself will still continue to increase after you've borrowed the money, because the cash that you put into the insurance policy is the value of the insurance policy, the capital backing the insurance policy. You borrow against that, they're loaning you money that is not that policy, and then you pay it back. If you don't pay it back, they keep the money in the policy. But if you pay it back, then the policy still has more money in it. So say you borrowed some money to replace your car, and then you paid back the loan, and then you die, the full quantity of money in that policy still goes to the family members and stuff to that effect that is tied to it as beneficiaries. Now, for those wealthy individuals, recognizing the interest rates on the payback versus the quantity of money that they borrowed, and the idea of turning some type of reasonable profit off of the borrowing process, they may borrow 100% of the value of the loan, recognizing the overflow of equity that allows them to borrow that amount, where if they put up 100 grand and now they have like 120 or 150 grand worth of value in the stock, they have excessive equity, and say they borrowed the 100 grand out of the insurance policy and went and bought them a Hellcat or a Bugatti or some shit. Now, they can, instead of paying back all that extra money to the loan, which would technically cause them to have a loss, a financial loss, they would just let that insurance policy lapse and say, fuck it. Now, in doing so, you have all the money you put into that insurance policy is tax deductions when you put the money into the insurance policy. And then when you take the money out and go and buy something, it is not a profit because it's a loan. Then when you buy something, whatever you bought is cash up front. So, you don't have to worry about any extra expenses on that. But if you wanted to refinance that particular item, like say if you bought the Resvani for $500,000, and then you went and got you a $250,000 loan on the value of your Resvani, you got the loan from the insurance policy. The insurance policy bought the vehicle cash up front. You had a clear title on the vehicle. You got a cash loan on 50% of the value of the vehicle, and then you use that cash loan to go do something else. The money that's coming through that would be going towards any of those loans are tax blankets. These are things that wealthy people do, but this only happens if you got the money to pay on the loan. Now, keep in mind, there is no limitation as to how many insurance policies an individual can have legally. However, every underwriting department is going to gauge the quantity of coverage you have versus the quantity of assets that you have and capital that you can invest towards the policies. So if you can't afford to pay for the policy and you have more than enough benefits to cover death, they may not cover your policy request. However, if you can show that you can afford the policy amongst all other policies. And you can show that regardless of the quantity of coverage that you're asking for, that there is a need for that, or that there's a benefit for that, then they will still cover you. So you can have 2, 3, 5, if you can afford the monthly payments on them, you can have 2, 3, 5, 7 life insurance policies. You can borrow against 2 or 3 of them, let most of them go, and still have one that is specifically designed for when you die, your funeral is covered. It just depends on how you work that situation out. But again, the cost of each one of those policies versus the amount of money that you're making. All of these strategies, you have to weigh the ins and outs of it. Also, these other minimizing tactics include using tax loss harvesting to offset gains with losses and reduce your taxable income. Investing in opportunities like certain opportunity zones that are government funded to help defer or even avoid some capital gains, like certain countries that I tell you that if you invest in certain opportunity zones or certain incentivized development projects, that country will evade or eliminate your taxes, whether it be for 10, 15 years or permanently, because you specifically put your money in certain locations that are backed by the government. Those are ways that you can get capital gains tax-free or avoid taxation on some of those capital gains. Now, when it comes to tax loss harvesting typically requires you to invest capital into investments, turn your profits, and then sell some for a loss so that you're not taxing on some of it. Now, it's allowing you, tax loss harvesting allows you to reduce taxation by up to $3,000 per calendar year. Anything over that rolls over to the following year. So you're not trying to say, oh, I'm going to live life on a hog, and then in October, November, December, I'm gonna sell low, take a big ass hit, and then just not have to give nothing because of such a difference. No, they're only going to credit you about $3,000 worth of losses. Anything above that, if you take $20,000 worth of losses, they're only going to give you $3,000 worth of losses this year. You can roll over those losses for next year and the year after. But you would equally be able to mitigate the difference by making 100% gains and taking that $3,000 and donating it to a school or a nonprofit organization that would give you a receipt for the donation, so that you can use that charitable donation as a tax deduction as well. If the money has got to come out of your pocket, you might as well put the money towards something that you can see it benefit your immediate environment. So investing in your local community in any nonprofit scenarios, that in a nonprofit scenario is not like breast cancer research. A nonprofit scenario is a government funded entity that does not turn a profit. It gets a budget from the government, it spends that budget, and then it stops providing services when it stops getting a budget. So any government program, you might be able to go and find some social service programs that are nonprofit entities where they only get what you pay into it, what taxpayers pay into it. Police departments are not profitable. You know, there are some that are privatized police forces, but mostly the government funded police forces that are limited to the money that's issued to the department from the state, where the state's issued money from the federal government. Those entities are also in situations tax-free entities, because they're not tax-free, but they're nonprofit scenarios. So you can use them as a tax-free option, because you can donate to them, get that voucher, and then send that voucher in and say, hey, I've donated to the local government, and they'll shave that off. So a quick recap real quick: your Roth IRA 401ks are tax-free in retirement for qualified withdrawals, low taxable income for 0% taxes on qualified dividends and long-term gains. And I want to touch base on that again real quick. A qualified dividend for 0% requires you, over the 120 days of the ex-dividend date, to have had the investment in that stock for 60 days prior to the ex-dividend date, and potentially another 61 days after the ex-dividend date for you to qualify. But at minimum, over the 121 days of the ex-dividend date, your money would have had to have been there at least 60 days before the ex-dividend date to qualify for the 0% taxation, up to $64,000 if you are a head of household, $48,000 if you are single, and I think $97,000 if you are married. Now, ladies, real quick, what does a man gain from getting married? That tax bracket right there is what a man gains from getting married. Saving an extra $30,000, but you're doing joint. So consider this: two single people at $48,000 apiece. Put that together, and you're a little over $96,000, which is about $1,000 less than filing joint. Okay. Now, head of household, there's only one head of household, unless you're the head of your household and he's the head of his household, and both of y'all are doing the same thing, and that's giving y'all the opportunity to push $64,000 a person, which is able to push $128,000 for the both of y'all. That typically works when you're filing taxes from two separate addresses, even if you're living in the same house, because that's how some of the elderly people maximize their Social Security and retirement funds. They don't get married. They stay single. They move in. They live in the same house. One has one address that they use, and the other person has the other address that they use, and they have separate bank accounts, but they pool their money together and live at one location. And because of that, if you're getting $1,000 or so from him and $1,000 or something dollars or so from her, and y'all put that together and y'all got $2,000, or if he's getting $2,000 on his side and she's getting $2,000 on her side, he's getting 300 food stamps on his side and she's getting 300 food stamps on her side. Now y'all got $4,000 plus $600 in food stamps. Y'all living good, right? That's one of the reasons why staying single might be beneficial for some people. But that's $97,000 tax bracket for me to just claim I'm married on my tax form, so that I don't have to pay taxes on $97,000 standard of living that's coming from stock investments. Now, keep in mind now, if you're getting almost $100,000, and that's 15% interest on money not moving, 15%, $150,000 is 15% of $1 million. So to be looking at about $100,000, you're looking at having like $800,000 or $900,000 in stocks not moving at 15%, where that $97,000 that's floating around is non-taxable. So for those females that talk about they want that $100,000 man, you got to make that, sweetheart. But if you make it, y'all can live off the dividends tax free up to $100,000. That's $100,000 a year lifestyle tax free. Now, the other one we talked about earlier, the HSAs, the 529s, and the IULs, all tax free for specific uses. It's specific use directed withdrawals. So the health services, if you pull money out of that one for health services, you're covered. Your 529, you pull that out for education, you're covered. So if you got kids and you have an HSA and you pull out that HSA to go take care of your kids' medical expenses, tax free. You got a 529 and you pull out the 529 for your kids' education, tax free. You got an IUL, you borrow off the IUL, go and buy you a Lambo, tax free. Traditional IRAs and 401ks, tax deferred. They're not tax free. And then we also talked about the tax harvesting. So just remember that the qualified dividends must meet IRS holding period rules, and some states still tax dividends and gains, even if you pay 0 federal taxes. So you got to remember what state that you're living in. The 0% tax rate on long-term capital gains and qualified dividends for 2025 apply to the taxable income of up to the $48,000 I told y'all for the single, $96,000 for the married, and $64,000 for the head of household, because these are the income thresholds set by the IRS for the 0% bracket on these types of income, where the U.S. tax code provides preferential rates for long-term capital gains and qualified dividends to encourage long-term investments. So the rates are structured in brackets based on taxable income and filing status. So that is not the profits that you're getting from the stock. That is the tax bracket you fall in for the total quantity of income that you have. But if the total quantity of income that you have is your stock, that's a different story. For 2025, if your taxable income falls at or below these thresholds, you pay no federal taxes on your long-term capital gains and qualified dividends. If your income exceeds these amounts, the tax rates on such gains increases to 15% or 20%, depending on how much higher your income is. These thresholds are adjusted periodically for inflation, which is why they change from year to year. The dividend capture strategy that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, is generally not compatible with the qualified dividend tax rate because it usually does not meet the required holding period for qualified dividends. As I said before, to benefit from the lower tax rate of 0%, 15%, or 20% on qualified dividends, the IRS requires you to hold that stock for more than 60 days during the 121-day period that starts 60 days before the stock's ex-dividend date. The dividend capture strategy involves buying a stock just before the ex-dividend date, which is usually about a week or so, 2 days to 7 days before the ex-dividend date, and then selling shortly after, often within days after the ex-dividend date, 1 to 5 days after the ex-dividend date. And because this holding period is typically too short, the dividends received are usually taxable at a higher ordinary income tax rate, not the more favorable qualified dividend rate. So unless you hold the stock long enough to meet the qualified dividend requirements, the capture dividend strategy will not allow you to benefit from the 0% taxes qualified for dividend tax rates. Now, this is one of the things that I told you guys about a few weeks ago. While you can rotate your money around and potentially gain 168%, depending on your tax bracket, if you're being hit for 12 to 22% interest on your stocks based on your tax bracket, then out of the 168% return, if you made a $1,600 and they're taxing you 22%, they're probably going to take $500 out of that, roughly. Which means that instead of you making 168%, you might make less. For example, if you made $1,000 even and they took $220 out or $240 out of your $1,000 profit for the 22%, you went from 1,000 down to like 780 or 760, and that puts you in a position where you only made 76% instead of making 100% return, but you still made a far larger return than the 21%. Now, one of the reasons why the wealthier individuals aren't doing the dividend capture method for $250,000 shifts is because why get taxed on $250,000 shifts when I cannot get taxed on $1 million worth of capital that's giving me $90,000 worth of returns? So they're not. So when they think about how I could leave $1 million sit in this bank, get a little under $97,000 and it not be taxed because I'm married, versus doing a dividend capture strategy and turning $1 million into $2 million in less than 12 months while being taxed 37% on the high end, where I would have to give 37% of my million that I earned, which is like $370,000 that I'd have to give back And if I'm giving back $370,000 off of the second $1 million that I got, wouldn't it make more sense to just do a little less? So we have to remember, while there's also that 0% federal tax rate on qualified dividends and long-term capital gains, if your taxable income stays below certain thresholds, these thresholds are set by the IRS specifically to adjust for the inflation and encourage the long-term investments and prevent bracket creeping, which prevents you from it's almost like when you change weight classes, you like starve yourself a little bit just so that you can be at the top end of the bottom class, or you overindulge yourself so that you can be in the bottom half of a higher weight class. They prevent you from creeping into a different tax bracket. Your total taxable income will fall at or below these thresholds, and you pay no federal taxes on your long-term capital gains and qualified dividends. And that's where we want to end up. We want to end up in a position where we make enough money, make money for us, where we can just park our money and just live. We don't have to check the stocks every day. We don't have to, call our agent or anything like that. It is just set in stone that this is where the money is going to be, and this is how much money we're going to get. Now, if your income exceeds these amounts and tax rates such as the gains increases to 15 or 20%, depending on your income levels, you still have tax advantage and account strategies that you can fall back on, right? So there it is. No taxable. Remember that there is no limit to the number of insurance policies that you can have you can utilize in order to gain a tax exemption on loans against the insurance policy. Just note that you're limited to the underwriting department that will allow you to take out the insurance policy. There is a possibility that they will do a background check on your ability to get the insurance policy. So you don't want to take out a bunch of financial background checks that is doing hard credit pulls on your insurance policy when unnecessary, because if you understand that you don't make enough to cover that, you don't make enough to cover that. Also keep in mind that capital losses that exceeds your gains allows you to get that $3,000 net loss per year, and your taxable income $1,500 if married, filing separate. So it's $3,000 total, but if you two are filing separately and you're married, each one of you will get $1,500. But if you're not filing joint, go after that $3,000, and any remaining losses is going to carry over. Let's see. Ooh. Dividends received through the dividend capture strategy are typically taxed at the ordinary tax rates, which range between 10 and 37% federally, depending on the taxable income. The examples that we have for this is if you earn $10,000 from the dividend capture method, which is highly possible, then you could see yourself getting 24. Well, technically with $10,000, you would be in the 10% or 11% tax bracket. But for the sake of, if you were in the 24% tax bracket when you did make that $10,000, you would see yourself owing $2,400 in federal taxes plus any state taxes. So in contrast, qualified dividends in the same tax bracket would be taxed at about 15%, which would have been $1,500. So you would have saved like $900 extra by being in that qualified tax bracket, in case you didn't know. So you also have to recognize that many states, if you're living in one of those states that also tax ordinary dividends at their own income rates, which can be significant in high tax states, you want to make sure that you're not in or filing taxes in a high tax state. One of the benefits of not being hounded by your actual address is that if you claim an address in a state that's not a tax state and you file your taxes from that state, and you're doing all of your investments online, you could actually be living in a tax state and filing taxes from a non-tax state and not have to pay state taxes. Or one of the other benefits from banking all over the United States, if you've got an address in that state, post office box now, you got an address in that state and you're filing taxes from that state and you're banking in that state, they're going to hold you to that state's tax laws. Now, you move to a tax state, a state tax state, and you file taxes from that state tax state instead of filing taxes from the other state, you might have to pay way more. Now, if executed with a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, dividends are not taxed immediately, as long as you're doing qualified trades. One of the things I want to point out is one thing that I noted clearly. Did you know that across the United States, according to the last IRS census that just happened this year, most Americans are actually in the 12% or lower 22% tax bracket. So just note, that's where we are more often than not, which makes sense. My homeboy, I work with him and Jeff Mastrino, and he saved almost $30,000 worth of taxation on the money that he made this year. And that means that for every extra dollar they earn, the IRS just takes 12 or 22 cents depending on their filing status. So for those filing heads of household, the 12% bracket would cover taxable income from $17,000 to all the way up to $64,850. Once you cross that line, you're into the 22% bracket, which goes up to $103,350. That's something that not too many people know about. So you want a $100,000 man, and the $100,000 man is at the 22% tax bracket. $64,000 man is in the 12% tax bracket. You really want to get you a 90%. See what I'm saying? Anyway, here's where it gets interesting, though. The median U.S. household income in the U.S. is just above the top half of the 12% bracket. So if the head of household is applying for taxes, you're probably either in that upper 12% end of the tax bracket or just dipping your toes into the bottom half of the 22% range, depending on your deductions and taxable income. But for the most part, folks that are in that 12% bracket is home-based. And if you're single, that 12% bracket is going to cover incomes from 12 to 48. And once you hit 48.5, you jump to 22. And if you're married and you're filing joint, your 12% stretches way higher from around 24 to 97. And before hitting 22%, you're right there crossing that $97,000 mark. And for those that are filing head of household, that is going to put you guys at 17. So that bracket comfortably nesting you between 17,000 and 65,000, still kicking 22% all the way across for every area. So when Donald Trump was saying during his campaign pitch that he was going to have two tiers, the 15% tier for anybody under $168,000 and the 30% tier for anybody over $168,000. Right now, we've got 22% for individuals at almost $103,000, where we would be looking at 24 and 27 and 30% when you start getting closer to $168,000. So if you were wondering where you stand compared to the rest of Americans, chances are you're right there in that 12% bracket, with the majority paying less than you might think on your next dollar earned. So whether you're hacking your budget or optimizing your investments, there are real actionable ways to keep more of your money working for you. Now, I want to hear from you guys. What was your best budgeting or investment tip that you either heard from today or that you heard from somebody else? Make sure that you drop that information into the chats, add it to the comments after the show, and let's help each other reach those money-making goals. Matter of fact, while we're talking about money-making goals, I want to see if you guys are ready to get involved with some of these hacks that can really boost your savings. What is your money-making goal? Let's dive into these questions and find out together exactly what we want to do, what we can do, and what we need to do to get to where we want to be at. Yeah, that's a lot of the information that I have for you guys. If you have any questions about anything that I put up onto the show today, make sure that you throw your questions into the comment sections down below. I definitely respond to all of the fans. I try to do it within 24 hours of recognizing that you sent me a message, and I check the messages daily. I would like for you guys to make sure that you like and subscribe. Remember that tomorrow we're going to be talking about investing in Hong Kong, lifestyle in Hong Kong. We understand that Hong Kong is about as expensive as living in New York, but we're going to be talking about it anyway. Beautiful place to go, the culture. This is a male-driven podcast. We got about 75% male following, and it is from the male perspective. So when I tell you guys about different places to live, I'm telling you guys about different places to live where men can find a good woman that's a traditional woman that is not going to behave in the same mannerisms of the Western style women that a lot of men are dissatisfied with behavior wise. Ladies, y'all can go wherever y'all want to go and find yourselves a dude until you start going into those Eastern countries that are more traditionalized, where the men aggressively hold a higher expectation for the women to behave traditionally. That's when you're going to start finding a lot of disappointment, because while a lot of these countries are becoming more westernized and more modernized to the gender equalities, a lot of the Eastern countries still hold the traditional norms from the 60s and 70s. So when I tell you guys about where to go and what to invest in, I'm telling you guys about where to go, where to put your money so that you can live good, cheaper than in America, hopefully, and find yourselves good family. Build yourselves a good family. Build yourself a legacy. And depending on where you go and how you do it, you can not necessarily have to pay taxes on that in the United States, because the United States does have some tax deferred scenarios. And if you are being taxed in the United States, there are some countries that defers taxes because you're going to get taxed by the United States. So pay attention to all of that. Pay attention to all of that. So I want you guys to make sure that again, that you subscribe, you hit that notification button for tomorrow. I'm putting the show up after the show today, so it will be there within the hour for you guys to see for tomorrow. And then tomorrow we will be putting everything together and talking about Hong Kong. Remember, Thursday through Sunday, we're going to be talking about self-improvements and relationship improvements. So we've got a lot of things to cover. We cover a different topic every day. And if there is a topic that you'd like for me to cover that I haven't covered, put that in the comments, because I would definitely like to know what you guys want to know about. Because here on This and That, we talk about this, that, and everything in between. With that being said, I want to say thank you guys for coming to the show. Ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And special shout out to all the fellas: Usman, Jesse, Joseph, Reese Martinez, Max Opposer, Joe, Mr. Pibbs, Danny Stephan, Omni81. I really appreciate all you guys for coming to the show. Talenia, Victoria B, Nikki, Nico. Thank you guys for showing us love on a regular basis. I want to thank you guys one more time for coming to This and That. Any comments that pop into the comment section as we roll out of the show today will go onto the screen, as long as they're appropriate. So hang out for that. Enjoy Higher Ground, that was created by, special shout out to alanito.music from Switzerland and Danny from Denmark for promoting it. That should be just about everybody besides Happy Oli. So thank you guys again for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I will see you guys tomorrow.
Higher ground! That's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.